Lost media is one of the most interesting topics I've ever researched. Anyone who has ever created anything knows that it takes a lot of time, effort, and resources to accomplish. So when something valued so highly by a certain individual just inexplicably goes missing, it results in a certain level of mystery that not a lot of topics manage to recreate. The feeling you get when you discover something that's been lost for years is certainly a strange one. It almost feels like you shouldn't be finding it at all, like its existence somehow defies the very laws of the universe itself. It's somewhat comparable to a Mandela effect in a way, with its discovery leaving people feeling somewhat uneasy. A common example of this is old pilots for animated shows and even test animations for classic movies being found decades after their original release. And although lost media tends to be found not long after the search begins, today's instance is unique. Because despite having a relatively large search issued for its original version, the only thing we have is this short 17-second snippet of what's believed to be a lost song called Ulterior Motives, or Everyone Knows That. Now, I want to make it clear that this may not actually be the name of the song. Since this is lost media, we really don't know what the name is. It's just called that in reference to the supposed lyrics that most people have decided upon. But the name of the song doesn't really matter all that much right now. As a matter of fact, the further you get into this video, the more you'll realize that's really the least of our worries when it comes to this particular topic. Instead, we're going to take a look at the bigger picture surrounding this whole mystery, because hidden right under our noses is a secret that will blow this entire search wide open. Let me explain. Now, when this song was originally posted onto What's That Song in 2021 by a user named Carl92, it didn't really stand out all too much, sounding awfully similar to most mid-80s and 90s music that was being posted on the site. No one really batted an eye to it until literally no one was able to identify it. The song sounded so familiar, and if it was indeed from the 80s or 90s, it's believed a song like this would have totally been more popular back then. I mean, songs similar in genre to this were absolutely dominant during that time, earning themselves top spots on the charts for years, even in different countries. So what gives? How could a seemingly finished song of this kind just vanish from the face of the earth without a trace? Well, a lot of people believe that it isn't actually gone, and much like the Shrek test animation from 1995, is sitting somewhere on YouTube or some other site under a different name, just waiting to be found in its entirety. This belief is the thing that ended up not only sparking the blazing fire that is the search, but also fueling it to this very day, with more than 30,000 people actively searching just in this subreddit alone, with advancements and suggestions being made every single day. And I can't stress enough how ongoing this search is. People really want to find this song, but their undying dedication raises one very important question, at least for me. Why hasn't this song been found yet? I mean, let's just get everything straight. This search has been going on for 2.5 years now. Countless songs and artists from all around the world have been thoroughly combed through. Even record labels have been contacted, all of which having very similar responses. So what is really going on here? With this being brought to so many people's attention all around the world, how has this not been found already? Well, not a lot of people like to go down this route, but what if Carl92 has something to do with it? I mean, think about it. Every single loose end that's just been strangling this search from day one just leads directly back to Carl92. He claims he found it on an old backup DVD and he's unsure of its origins, thinking that maybe he was just experimenting with audio capture at the time and perhaps this was just left over. But if this is really the case, that doesn't really explain why we only have 17 seconds. I mean, seriously, shouldn't there be more? Even if he claims the rest of the files are unrelated, wouldn't having them at least paint a better picture as to when this may have been captured? I'm not saying he has to go and give us his exact location or any of those details, obviously not. He wants to preserve his privacy like anyone else would, and honestly, good on him. But in that very same realm of honesty, he really doesn't need to reveal any of that stuff in order to provide us with the most basic of information that we still seem to be missing years later. We still don't even know the correct pitch of the song, or if it was recorded off a TV or not, or even the device it may have been recorded with, or perhaps the most interesting question, if it was even recorded at all. Consider the following. what if this song is in fact created by Carl92 himself, and he's attempting to garner fame by sending us on the most wild goose chase of all time? If you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And after I'm done laying everything out for you, I bet you will believe it too. So with that being said, let's get into the real meat and potatoes of today's theory. So before I can prove to you that this may potentially be a hoax, first we should take a look at Carl92's posts and what he's contributed to the overall search, or I guess more accurately, his lack of posts. The general belief is that Carl92 just forgot about the song entirely, and after his initial 2-month on and off contribution to the search, just got caught up in his own life and subsequently lost interest. But to that I tell you to look a little bit harder, because if Carl really did lose interest in the search like most people believe, why is he modifying the post itself years later in 2023? And more importantly, why are there now 2 separate versions of this 17-second snippet? One with what seems to be a high-pitched hum of a CRT TV in the background, and one that doesn't have such anomalies. I'm of course not going to play it because I don't want to confuse YouTube's copyright bots, but you can very easily find both versions for yourself with the Wayback Machine. Just click these 2 snapshots from 2023 and you'll hear what I mean. There are very clearly 2 different versions of this clip now, and even if you don't believe that, the very fact that he is modifying the post as recently as 2023 and not contributing to the search is suspicious. Why would someone who seemingly lost interest be coming back after the song's blow up just to change the title of the post and nothing else? Again, even if there are no changes to the actual snippet itself like I said before, it's still a little bit odd, at least to me, that he would come back, change the title, and then just F off again with not so much as a hello, how you been? I mean, it's possible that attention was the last thing he wanted and him not coming back was to just avoid all the publicity that he had at that point gained. But if that was really the case, why didn't he just delete the post? Why did he change the title to one that everyone recognizes? If anything, that would just give more publicity to the post by immediately signifying to people that this is where it all began. To put it simply, if attention was truly something he was trying to avoid, changing the title to a more recognizable name would be the absolute worst move, which is why I don't think that's the answer. I also don't think it's AI generated either. Not only was AI just not advanced enough back then to be able to create something like this, but as the subreddit recently stated, the singer in this song supposedly sounds European, with little bits of their accent slipping through on certain words. Now, this alone wouldn't really mean much, but if you've been a part of this search for some time, you would know that Carl92 said in a comment that he is indeed from Spain. So, with all things considered, it makes even more sense to believe that maybe he just created this little snippet himself in an attempt to get people like us wondering, when in reality, the singer is just him. And, I mean, if this really is the case, and if he was just trying to get people interested, well, hats off to him, because it definitely worked. And just as a final little interesting idea, take a look at the actual title itself. Carl has consistently called this song Everyone Knows That, despite the obvious fact that no one actually does. And if he really was just trying to mess with us, making the title of his quote-unquote lost song Everyone Knows That is a perfect way to hide in plain sight. And honestly, if we turn out to be correct about all this, massive props to Carl for his tremendous work. At the end of the day, I'm not saying we should harass Carl for the answers, or anybody for that matter. At this point, if finding the truth means potentially ruining someone's life or making them feel unsafe to go out of their own house, maybe it's best if this just stays lost. And this isn't just a random concern either. Remember the subreddit I mentioned earlier? Well, with every new lead comes a new artist that gets absolutely bombarded with questions, messages, and calls until they just flat out don't want to help anymore. And honestly, who could blame them? Some of these people are retired from the music business altogether. Some of them probably haven't even touched this crap in years. And for them to just randomly get message after message from people they've never met asking them about a song that might not even exist, it's completely understandable why these people want nothing to do with this whole thing. And this method of getting info isn't just dangerous, it's counterproductive. Because even if any of these people actually do end up knowing the song, The constant messages and harassment they're probably facing may just result in them not giving it to us out of sheer frustration. And again, who could really blame them in that scenario? What I'm trying to say is whether this song is real, fake, or somehow trickled in from another universe, it doesn't matter. Because what ultimately gives this search meaning is the journey that we have to go through, the out-of-box techniques we have to learn, all the intricate steps we have to take and things we have to analyze is what makes this search and others like it so special. It's fun to look for things like this. Like I said before, the feeling when one of these mysteries finally comes to a close is indescribable. It feels like you've just deciphered the Rosetta Stone, something that until that point was seen as just a possibility. You've in that moment truly achieved what was previously thought to be impossible. But if the path to get there was filled with pain and heartache, then what really was the point of it all? Just to find some random song that people will likely forget about after the search is over? I mean, sure, we can cross another bit of lost media off the list, but at what cost? If you ask me, becoming the villain of the story is not how I want to win. And I hope that many, if not all of you, share the very same sentiment. Now, with all that being said, please don't message Carl or anyone mentioned in this video. Also, don't go to the subreddit just to be a jerk to the people in it. Please, please, just let everyone be. But anyway, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it and want more from the channel, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell. Alright guys, that's it from me. I love every single one of you with all my heart. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.